Gilfix webinar, 2024 estate planning updates, what you need to know and action items you can take to protect yourself, your family, and future generations. And as we jump in, I want to ask, what got you to join us here today? Why are you spending some time with us? And these might resonate. Are you concerned about your family's finances? Do you feel like the world is changing and maybe changing way too fast? I mean, if you look at the rate of change in the world, the world's always changing, but right now it feels like it's taking off exponentially. Do you feel like you might be losing some control in this incredibly changing world? Do you feel like a part of this, you're getting vilified for having worked your whole life to save up and to build up some assets, hopefully to secure your family? Do you feel like the laws and tax laws and the government doesn't really have your back? That like really things are kind of spinning and you're confused about laws and you feel a little bit overwhelmed and you just feel like nobody really has your back. And it feels like laws are changing ways we don't like. And I think the key about our firm has over 40 years of experience helping families through this. And I think a key point is let's focus on this. Control what you can control. That's what this is about. That's what I love about what we do. We help families. A lot we can't control. We can't control elections. We can't control tax laws. We can't control voter initiatives. We can't control crazy international issues that might impact our economy or our families. There's a lot we can control, and that's what this is about. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. And before we jump into the content, any other thoughts you have, Mike, before we get into the specific items we're going to review here today?
No, I'm just excited to reemphasize not just the need for being practical and think about your lives, but Mark will talk later about how we think you should integrate your legal and financial planning. That the more time goes on, the more we appreciate the need for coordinated planning. Now, it sounds obvious, but so often the financial planning side, an advisor doesn't know what the CPA is advising, doesn't know what the lawyer is advising. So, and we see people at cross purposes. How do you coordinate this? How can we take care of you more successfully and integrate everything that you need to integrate?
So let's talk about elections, because this is not we're not going to talk about this too much, but I'm showing some headlines from 2022 from that election. And I think what's really important to remember about 2022, because it has implications for all of us when it comes to estate and estate planning issues and tax issues. If you looked at historical metrics, by any economic metric, the Republican Party should have swept the 2022 elections. There should have been a red wave, but there wasn't. And Republicans did take control of Congress. But I think the key is we didn't follow historical patterns in the 2022 election. So what does that mean? It means it's going to be really hard to predict what happens in 2024, in 2026. There are so many new factors and wild cards at play. One thing I like to say is don't rely on Congress, don't rely on voters to bail you out. If you have a tax problem based on current laws, do not wait. There's a lot we can do to protect whether it's your home and property taxes or your estate. You have faced estate taxes now or in the future. Don't wait. Don't rely on the government to bail you out. We have to act based on what we know now, and there's a lot that we can do. And Mike, I know you think about this a lot, how our world is changing in 2024.
Right. And our world, and actually you, viewer, as an individual, your world has changed. So we're going to talk about changes in numbers and the tax code and so forth. But, the value of your estate has changed. So you need to think about that. Has it gone up? We hope, probably. Has it gone down? What are the implications? Prop 19, which we're going to talk about, again, it's a tax issue, but it's your kids' future. And the more time goes along, the more we appreciate, again, that the world has changed when it comes to the inheritance of property and your home and vacation home in particular. And as you think about changes
in rental property, more than I think a rental property you're relying on for future generations.
And also, as you look at you, yourself, your family, what about health changes? Are there new challenges? Are these issues that you can't ignore that you really have to think about? And what's the impact on your planning? What's the impact on your long-term sort of multi-generational plan? The last point to me is really important. What's your feeling, you personally, your family, about your personal and your family security? Are you feeling comfortable? Are you feeling more exposed? We worry with the dramatic increase in the number of lawyers. So that does mean that there's going to be less quality generally in this wave of attorneys, and there's going to be more litigation because there's going to be more lawyers willing to take anything. So
and AI.
Yeah, we think about litigation protection as a huge deal going forward, and we can deal with that.
Yeah, AI, I think, is going to enable far more lawsuits, and because it makes it a lot easier for smaller law firms to file a lot more lawsuits. We're really worried about that. So it's a scary world. Let's talk about some changes in law and some actions you can take. 2024 critical updates to Medi-Cal and long-term care planning rules. Just as a high level, Medi-Cal is a California version of the federal Medicaid program. It can be a crucial tool in paying for certain types of long-term care. And Mike, why don't you lead us through some of the key changes? We don't have to spend too much time in 2023 rules because those are ending. What are some of the new rules that we need to be aware of?
The world of Medi-Cal is absolutely astounding to me. We have been working in this field for 40 years. We were working in this field before it was a field, before there was any awareness of the role that government programs can play when it comes to the cost of long-term care. So we've been watching it. We've been writing about it forever. Here's an insight. California is unique. We are so liberal and so helpful that it's wonderful on the one hand and it's problematic on the other. So what do I mean by that? Until January 1 of 24, there was a means test. There's a limit on assets that a person could have and qualify for Medi-Cal. Let's think about the long-term care nursing home setting where the cost can be $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 a month or more. In the past, a person couldn't have more than $2,000, and that may be what you remember. This year, it's $130,000. The individual in the nursing home can have up to $130,000 in countable assets. Many assets, by the way, don't count. The house doesn't count. Retirement assets don't count. So these are stocks, bonds, cash, things like that. The spouse at home has a lot of protections as well. Can hold on to about $140,000 in addition. Now, come January 1, 2024, the asset cap for Medi-Cal eligibility disappears. Only in California. This is the only state in the country where that's going to be a reality.
Billionaires on Medi-Cal is what we like to call it.
So there's going to be some remarkable headlines about billionaires qualifying. It's actually not that simple, and it's a lot more complicated. But in terms of fundamental eligibility, presumptive eligibility, everybody, y'all come. So what we're worried about, this is a very mixed development. Individuals who are middle class, who don't have a ton of money in the bank, who are struggling with healthcare needs and the cost of healthcare, this is going to be a wonderful thing. But now you got to think about the impact on our budget and will there be enough money to pay for it? And how is all that going to play out? So if you're running a nursing home around here, most of those nursing homes do accept Medi-Cal. They don't have to, by the way. Many nursing homes only go private. They don't accept Medi-Cal. You have to pay the private bill every month or you're just not there. It's their choice. One of the worries we have is that with more and more people becoming eligible for Medi-Cal, given the fact that the Medi-Cal reimbursement rates, the amount that Medi-Cal pays for someone to be cared for in a nursing home, that rate is much lower than the private rate. So if more and more people in the nursing home are on Medi-Cal, the nursing home will have less income. That may not trouble some advocates, but it troubles us because objectively, we need nursing homes to be successful. They have to have enough money to have staff, and we should scrutinize what they do. Of course we should. But obviously, they can't absorb a dramatic decrease in the amount of money they're getting every month, and we can't expect them to simultaneously increase quality of care. So over time, one of the worries is that more and more nursing homes will stop taking Medi-Cal altogether, underscoring the need for and the value of things like long-term care insurance, which many years ago, we wouldn't have said this many years ago, but for, 5 or 6 years, we've changed our tune. We believe, general statement, that long-term care insurance makes a great deal of sense. Keeping in mind that long-term care
not in every situation, but in many. So it's not perfect. We get a lot of complaints too from people.
Oh, of course. Hey, what's perfect? Other than us, what's perfect? I mean, long-term care insurance and the policies vary tremendously. You kind of get what you pay for. Rates have gone up. The underwriters who worked on long-term care insurance underestimated how many people would utilize the benefit. So, it's a moving target, but again, part of a comprehensive plan has to include thought about long-term care insurance. And I just want to add, this goes back to a point I made earlier that Mark's going to revisit, which is the need to coordinate your financial management planning with your insurance planning, with your legal and tax planning. All of these things have to fit together. It only makes sense. So when we do our planning for folks who are dealing with the cost of long-term care, and remember, long-term care is a spectrum. It starts at home. It can be in a skilled nursing facility. It can be assisted living. It can be what's called a CCRC, continuing care retirement community, like the V, like the Forum, places like that around here. We have to take into account countless tax issues. And many folks attorneys and non-attorneys who advise about Medi-Cal don't understand the impact on property tax and capital gains tax and estate tax and gift tax. You have to integrate sophisticated tax thinking and tax planning. Yeah. So just to say, it's complicated. It's extremely complicated. We have 40 years of successful experience. And if you don't think experience counts in this world, think again. It is critically important.
You know, one thing that we point out in a lot of our talks is you spend your whole life trying to make good financial decisions, budgeting, you know, where it's you fly coach when you maybe could have afforded business class on that long flight, or you take the courtyard view room instead of the ocean view room. One or two bad decisions when it comes to estate planning or long-term care planning or any of these issues can undo a lifetime of good financial decisions and budget decisions. So you need to have that team around you. And Mike and I co-authored a book called Facing the Reality of Long-Term Care. It's actually sold out right now. So, but we're probably going to get more copies soon. But the point is, we think about this all the time. So if you're worried about this, or as it pertains to your estate and financial plan, talk to us. We can always be part of that team. And I think it's really important we think about this ahead of time, because when there's already a crisis, it is often too late to plan. So we want to make sure your estate plan, your trust, your power of attorney address these issues ahead of time, and that we make sure that you don't make any bad decisions when you face these actual problems. If you want to work with us, we'd invite you to join our client community. If you're an existing client, come meet with us. Very easy to find us. We're Gilfix and LaPole, gilfix.com. You can contact us at 650-493-8070. We can, of course, review your existing plan, whether you worked with us previously or not. If you have questions, leave them as comments on YouTube. We'll get to some of those. We'll respond to those. We try to get back to most YouTube questions or comments. Make sure, regardless, though, that you have an expert team of advisors. If you have any assets, you need a great financial advisor who can help you think about these, tax, a good accountant and a great estate planning team. We're building these networks. We would love to be a part of it. But either way, make sure you have it. Don't leave it just to the 1/10 of 1% to have those teams. We all can do it. Let's control what we can control in these very uncertain times. As my mom likes to say, I hope everybody's staying safe, sane, and healthy.